Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Gas is on the Right. No, he's got a chance to win the race.
Yeah. I think that might have been like one of the cleanest hits I've ever seen in a NASCAR fight.
Side Rick. Yeah, the back. Oh! Oh! Into the wall hard goes Ryan Blaney.
And he finally came to a stop. And it was just dead silent.
I said this last week, and I'm going to keep reiterating it. Live with the decisions you make, drive by the decisions you make. Don't change up your style, but also just don't be dumb. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Gas is on the Right. How is everybody doing?
Going good.
Pretty good, pretty good. Can't complain.
We had a little bit of technical difficulties getting set up, but we're ready to go.
Yeah, just a few.
Like we
just a
always
few.
do.
So it's always something, that's for sure. So, but well, let's roll right in, guys.
It is the Atlanta regular season edition of Gas is on the Right. Has to be my favorite race so far, and probably will be close to my favorite race of the season.
Yeah, I think it got 94.8% on Jeff Gluck's poll.
Yeah,
Good race. I think it ranks
Wow,
third all time.
yeah, it was
Wow.
high. It was really up
It
there.
had like 45,000 votes too.
And we had no rain this weekend. We finally had
Yeah.
a weekend with no rain.
Finally, some gorgeous weather in Atlanta, down in Hampton as well. What high was like 65, nice breeze all day. It was a
Yeah, it
beautiful
looked
day
really
for some
windy.
racing. So,
Starting with the Xfinity race. And actually, let's go ahead and start with truck. So Busch ran truck this week, and he won.
mhm.
My blame. But the Xfinity race, what was everyone's thoughts on the Xfinity race?
Chugga chugga
It was
choo choo.
Yeah, they just ran around in a line until everybody ran out of gas, except for Austin Hill.
Yeah.
And
He was
Austin
able to save.
Hill with 2 wins in a row.
Yep.
Off the season hot.
Early season Xfinity champion? Probably.
Yeah, I can see it.
So definitely easy to say when you have when you lock up the first two events, but also first two super speedways. I'm gonna be honest, I'm ready to move on from them for a little while. I love them. It's a
Yeah.
love hate.
It was exciting. It was exciting, but now I'm ready for some mile and a half stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
So starting with qualifying for Cup, there was some pretty interesting penalties this week. So Stuart Haas, their car's 10 and 41, obviously, got a pretty hefty penalty. Did y'all see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, L1.
L1 infraction, 35 points apiece. So now Noah Gragson is negative in
negative.
points, and Ryan Preece has 0.
Yeah.
I almost picked Priest this week.
So yeah, definitely big fines. So from there it was a roof rail infraction. Something that I don't know if it was with the thickness. I don't know if anybody had heard exactly what it had been a part of. But that
Yeah, I
roof rail
couldn't find any
infraction.
details on that.
Yeah, what I think you were reading it, it's supposed to be like 5 millimeters thick, made out of aluminum or something. So I'm
Yeah.
assuming the thickness may have been off or the angle may have been off, as any little bit, obviously, as we've seen in the past, creates an aero package advantage. So that was a part of really what led into that penalty, is just, I mean, affecting something to make the car better, you know? What are you you're gonna get
This
fined.
week's racing theme was too much thickness and not enough inches.
Ask Samantha Bush.
Yeah.
My gosh, that comment.
Oh, So,
And
ooh,
then Logano got hit with, I mean, I would say a pretty hefty penalty. I don't know, you know, what y'all's opinions are, but because he used that illegal glove during qualifying, the webbed glove.
yes, I actually got an image of that I'll pull up for us real quick to look over.
No, I will be honest. When they first started, I was like, why is he going to the back of the field? I was like, what did he
Yeah,
do? Why he just stopped?
where'd he go? Where'd he go? So, yeah, I didn't see any of this until after we heard about it on Sunday after the penalty was assessed. But basically, if you look right there, he's almost got it like a catcher's mitt or a catcher's mitt. I can't speak. And what he's doing is, if you saw in the qualifying, they put their hand up on the I guess the frame right there, right in front of the window net, to block
Block the
air
air.
to help
Mhm.
gain little advantages, like we talked about, and that's perfectly legal. But obviously, the appendages cannot be connected on the finger, so that
They
just
cannot
created
be
more
like
of
a
a
little
block.
sugar glider.
I was listening to Dale Jr.'s podcast, and he did a comment section where it was wrong answers
Hmm.
only, and it said Joey Logano actually has webbed fingers.
So, but yeah, so his penalty, again, there's two images there. One at the top is kind of the better one. Both are blurry because there's no real stills of them, but you can see where the glove is obviously enclosed there on the screen. So, yeah, can't get away with it with an in-car camera, buddy. Can't get
Yeah,
away with it with
no.
an
So
in-car.
he what, qualified second, right? If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
no,
Yeah, so he qualified second. They sent him to the
Hmm.
back of the field. He
he
had the
had a
pass through
pass through penalty,
Hmm.
penalty. I can't today.
and then he got
And then he got
and
a
then he
ten
got
thousand dollar
bailed out.
fine.
And then he got bailed out when he went through when he was doing his pass through, and everybody when Todd
Oh,
Gilliland checked
we'll
up to
get
let
to
Michael
that.
McDowell in, and then everybody wrecked, and it was like, oh, I'm
Yeah,
back.
See
No
you
harm, no
back.
yeah.
foul. Yeah, it
That's what we
actually
were
worked
talking
out in
about. We
his
were like
favor that he got
the
to start in
pass
the back
through.
and do a pass through because he wasn't in the wreck because he got a pass through. So he got lucky that he didn't have to just only start in the back. Or else he probably would have been in what was it, a 16 car wreck on lap two. That was the biggest number car wreck in Atlanta history, is what they said on the broadcast.
Mm.
When when they bottle up,
Yeah,
they
that's what
bottle
we were
up.
talking about. We were talking about how lucky he got with that wreck because I mean, like you said, at the end of the day, it didn't really affect him that much, that pass through,
Hmm.
as much as
Hmm.
it should have.
Yeah, because he
um,
Yeah.
got completely bailed out.
That was a lot of the
so
debate too with that. Just on a quick note, is like people were wondering why he didn't get fined or not just fined but also a points deduction. But the thing about that comes down to it is pending that doesn't happen inside the event, like
mhm,
you don't expect the lap 2 wreck to where he's going to be fined, get bailed out or anything along those lines. So there's not really
Mhm.
much that could be done there. Um,
Yeah,
just
the
do you guys
punishment
think that
fit
was
the
harsh
crime.
enough?
He just got lucky. Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't think so.
you can't. I think it was fine. I mean, I don't think the start in the back and the pass through and a fine, one or the other maybe. I think just fine them. I don't really see. They're just trying to get creative. Everybody's cheating a little bit. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Hmm.
Everybody's pushing the rules a little bit, and it just so happened that he got caught because he did it last week too at Daytona, and and he did it again, and somebody saw it and was like, "Hey, hey, hey, hey," and they went and snitched on him. Is what happened. So I mean, I think just a fine would have been okay, but he would
I
have ended up
think
getting caught up in a wreck anyways.
Right.
I think either or.
Only five people didn't.
Like my opinion is either or. Either, you know, find like make a move to the back of the field and do the pass through or find him. Like I think
So
either or is good, but like both maybe a little too much.
I think the main reason behind that is just kind of the deterrent of it, of having to also pay the premium of it as well.
Mm.
Especially because I don't think the fine was released till after the race, right? if I'm right on that. The fine was released on NASCAR's penalty report.
Yeah, it got released when they did the Stewart Haas penalties too.
So
So
yeah, I think so. I don't think it was released until yesterday.
so it almost seems like
Um,
NASCAR made the decision to go ahead and add the fine on the back end
but
because
they were
they
like,
maybe
"Oh,
felt
his
like
pass
the
through didn't
punishment
do
wasn't
much."
enough. Right.
Hmm.
So I think that may be a part of that reasoning from NASCAR to do a fine as well during this particular incident.
Well, getting out of fines and, sort of, I guess,
Some bad
the
news.
the bad news of qualifying, McDowell did get his first career pole out of 473 Cup Series starts.
Well, it's not the 500 pole, but it's still a pole.
Hey, a pole is a pole,
So
man.
yeah,
Yep.
there's
If
so many
they
ways to go
if
with
they do the right thing
it.
with the class, if they do the right thing with the clash, he'll be in it.
Right. So I feel like that may have been
I think
something that
it's
should have already been
ironic.
announced.
Yeah, I feel like it's ironic. Well, NASCAR, they'll probably announce. They normally announce the clash rules the week up,
True. True.
the month leading up to it. But
Mm.
I think it's ironic that in Xfinity and Cup, the front two were the same in the first two races. It was Love and Hill in the Xfinity races for the first two races, and Ogano and McDowell on the front row qualifying for the first two races.
Yeah, it's kind of a just a fun thing to watch, but it also tells you of
Mhm.
maybe who's going to be fast at super speedways all year.
Well, looks like Chevrolet. Chevrolet's got a clean sweep right now.
Yeah, very true.
Mhm.
So barely a clean sweep, but we'll touch on that here shortly.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, no, congrats to McDowell though. Overall, I mean, 473 starts. He's been starting mid-pack teams his whole entire career. Front row's really, I think, taking a step this year forward. So, and seeing that paying off in a sense, I mean, I think they've taken steps forward in the past 3 years since McDowell won the
Mhm.
500. So then you
I
look
mean,
at
even if you look at last year, it was just McDowell was. You could clearly tell his equipment was a little bit better than Gilliland's, but Gilliland also had that pressure of they were bringing Zane Smith in, so he's like, "Hey, I'm going to prove to you guys that this is my ride," and he did. And now Zane Smith's elsewhere. And I mean, even if you look at it this week, he was able to lead 58 laps, and he's led 77 laps so far, the most at it. I mean, it's only 2 weeks and it's been two super speedways, but I think he's led more laps this season than he has in his entire career. So they're obviously moving in with the new Penske alignment, leaving
mhm,
RFK and going to Penske, which I think McDowell said that hadn't even kicked in yet. So this is just the
raw
fruits of their
speed.
labor that we're seeing so far. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is just raw speed. This has nothing to do with any alliances. This is just fruit of their labor that they're
Hmm.
getting into. So, I mean, that's very promising for that team to move forward. And which, once again, this has just been our cup of super speedways. Well, this Atlanta's, the perfect hybrid of mile and a half super speedway, but super speedway esque. We're going to get into the real meat and potatoes here with the mile and a half at Phoenix, the whatever you want to call it or the mile and a half at Las Vegas, or whatever you want to call it at Phoenix, and then
Hmm.
Wouldn't it be
Bristol
pretty
after
cool?
that to short tracks.
Yeah.
So
Time to
I
get in
mean,
some nitty
after
gritty, and then Sonoma
after week
or not
five,
Sonoma.
you'll have
Coda.
after week five you'll have a really So then we're hitting everything within the first six races. We got super speedway, the hybrid, the mile and a half, the whatever you want to call it, the short track, and a road course. So you're getting
Hmm.
after
You're getting
so
a good
really after week
mix.
six, you'll know you have a pretty good idea of who's going to be good where. We already have a pretty good idea from the first 2 years. But Toyota and Ford have the new noses and stuff, so that's gonna
Yeah, we're gonna have to
be
see
that's the big
how they run
question
on the mile and a
leading
halves.
into this weekend.
Yeah, that's gonna be the biggest storylines to watch is
Mhm.
what they do and how they do and what adjustments did they make to make their mile and a half package better. So, or if they made adjustments in the wrong way and made it worse. So that's definitely the storyline to watch this weekend with the Toyotas and Fords for sure. Um, but I'll let Emily reel us back in here as we have gone quite on a tangent.
Oh, y'all are totally fine. Y'all are totally fine.
But congrats to
Um,
McDowell.
congrats to Big Dog. You actually got to meet him this weekend too.
Yes, just as a
Wow.
heads up, and we'll talk about this a little later, make sure to go get a track experience and go early. Um, really cool events. Bennabone, the sponsor of McDowell this weekend, had him out there at the booth. They're actually giving away dog bones, so the pups got some goodies, and then we got signed hero cards. So, I mean, really cool
It was
stuff you
actually a
get.
really good looking race car too.
Oh yeah, I mean, just look at that. Look at that car
Yes.
right there. And Bacon gives me the zoomies. Like, come on, best trunk panel.
Best.
So, but yeah, definitely get out to one of these events. Get out to a race and go wherever it is in your region, depending on where you are. Especially the fan zone experience is very just friendly in general, but kid friendly as well. A lot of good events for younger children to get involved in and to do things there, and also get to meet drivers, see drivers. You get some really cool stuff here and there. Just one other thing I wanted to touch on: they had the Georgia Racing Hall of Fame there, and if you answered a question right, you got a free shirt. So this was the shirt that I ended up getting was Elliot's Dover win in 22. So they gave you a gift bag with a shirt and some other stuff in it. So again,
We
you got
love
to
free
go
stuff.
get a ton of free stuff. Like they have all kinds of free stuff there,
Oh
and it's
yeah,
great.
that's what I remember. Every time you go to Talladega, there's people like, here, take this, here, take this, here, take this. Because when
Yeah,
we went to Talladega for my bachelor party, how many free shirts did we leave with? Like 4 or 5 different free shirts.
yeah, yeah. And then when we went last year, because we normally get the Chevy shirts, we got the Ford shirts last year. This was another Talladega hero card, Ricky Stenhouse. So I mean,
Hmm.
go out there and get some stuff. So
They're always doing something.
yeah,
Literally.
they were actually doing an RC race where if you won, you got signed Ryan Blaney merch too out there.
Oh
Alan
really?
almost won. He is a
I
little
almost won.
salty about
I'm a little salty.
very
So
You
salty.
lost?
I came in second. Somebody backed up the track in front of me, and I just plowed him through the finish line while the other guy passed me. It's like, so close, so close.
I
But
taught you nothing.
dude, I ran the high line. I tried to run the high line. It
You should
worked.
have you should have called me and you should have called me and said, Daniel, get here. If you win a race, there's free stuff, and I know you can do it.
Come on, you've done it before. Do it again.
When free stuff is on the line, Daniel.
Yeah,
Daniel steps up.
I'm clutch.
So, well, let's get into some of this race. So
So we already talked about this a little bit. The wreck on lap 2, or should I say lap 1, kind of lap 2, because it was right there. Do you
Hmm.
have that video by chance, Alan?
unfortunately, I could not get it in time. I got some other
So
videos in there, but
even
I
the
couldn't get that
videos
one.
that are out, it's really hard. I mean, basically what it breaks down to is in the Xfinity race and the Truck Series, the trucks and the cars weren't really able to generate runs, which is kind of what we've talked about. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast last week or me and Alan just talked about it in person. Is that there's not that many trucks, Xfinity cars. The quality and equalness isn't the same as it is in Cup, and I think that had a lot to do with it. And also in the final stage of the Xfinity, everybody was like, all right, we're kind of like 2 laps short the way this last stage is going to play out. So everybody was running
Mhm.
around saving fuel. That had a lot to do with it as well. But no one could run on the bottom. Everybody was stuck on the high line. And so I think that's kind of what the Cup guys were expecting. And McDowell started on the bottom. Gilliland kind of checked up to let him up. And then the guy behind him checked off, and the guy behind him checked up, and the guy behind him checked up. And then there was just a huge stack up at the back of the pack.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I
I'm gonna
think
be honest.
Austin Dillon was the first one that turned, and then from there,
Yeah, talk about a
The
him,
wreck was kind of
him and
confusing to
he's
see
had
in
two
person.
terrible, two terrible weeks for him. But he's not lasting points because there's a guy with 0 and -7. So that's the good
There's
news for
there's a
him.
guy with 0 and negative.
yeah, the
So,
wrecking. Go ahead.
mhm. No, you're good.
I was just saying the wrecking person definitely was just kind of throwing off.
It looked like
Yeah, I was like,
it
what are
looked
you
like
doing?
a
This
hot
lap
mess.
2, how are we already wrecking 16 cars on lap 2? The cars aren't even up to full speed yet, you know?
Yeah.
and we're already
It was like,
sideways everywhere.
I mean, I would say it looked like a train wreck, but it was a wreck.
That's
It
literally
was
what it was, a
like
train wreck.
literally you looked at them pass, and I think I looked at Alan and I looked back and half of the field was gone. And I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
if you weren't paying attention, it was like because you couldn't really see it because I was watching it on TV and you couldn't even really see it on TV. All of a sudden, the caution flag was out. They were like, "Whoa, the back of the pack's spinning." And I was like, "What?" It didn't even make any sense till they showed a replay, and then it was just a huge line of checkup,
Yeah.
and boom, 16 cars spinning.
Yeah, it's like playing the
On
old, like, telephone game where
9.
I whisper in your ear potato and it goes down the line and it ends up being raspberry or something. So the
Yeah,
guys at the back did not get the news.
yeah,
They did not get the memo.
They
and
got
like
sent for the spin
the
cycle.
just a week following, everybody talking about how embarrassing the truck race was. Lap two, the guys look like the truck racers out there, with everybody
Oh,
spun out.
you do that, I mean, talk about 2 weeks in a row with early wrecks. Like, that's another part of it. I wanna get some racing
Hmm.
going. So,
Hmm.
something that, I know we don't have notes on, but I think there was what, like 11 cautions during this race?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they said only 5 cars ended up not being in a wreck by the end of it. Only 5 cars didn't get in an incident out of what, 39.
Mhm.
So that's a ton of just cars getting meleeed. But I mean, they did get some racing done because when they went 4 wide, I was like, that's not going to work. And then they
It
just kind of
worked.
kept trending around at 4 wide, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, we're 4 wide right now in Atlanta after they were just complaining about how narrow the track is compared to how it used to be. And there's 4 cars in 3 lanes now. Like, come on.
Yeah, be
So
real.
there were 10 cautions this past weekend
10 cautions.
with 48 lead changes.
And
48?
I think it set the record for lead changes at Atlanta.
Mhm.
Wow. So, you guys there?
Yes.
I don't know what just happened. We won't do that again.
Technical difficulties. It happens.
Uh,
That's our MO.
yeah, I'm sure if that actually still filmed me, I probably had just wide open eyes. But yeah, technical difficulties are our MO. Well, continue.
Green flag stop issues. So we had a lot of speeding penalties during green flag pit stops this past weekend, which isn't uncommon in Atlanta.
Yeah, eight different drivers. Well, the pit road's so weird there because the one part of it's 90 miles an hour and the other part's 45. Because I was listening to on Ricky Stenhouse's, I was listening to Corey LaJoy's podcast, and he was like, I passed Ricky, and he said he thought he thinks he might have thought it was 45 all the way around, and then realized, oh, I need to speed up. And by the time he speeded up, it was when he needed to slow down, and that's how he got that penalty. And I
Hmm.
mean, it's just such a weird entrance right there that that's bound to happen. And then also, the 34 locks his brakes up and gets into the 24 getting on the pit road. And there's that's another big debate of should that have been a caution or not, which it probably should have, but then there would have been 5 cars on the lead lap and everybody else 2 laps down, and that would have been the same way for a while, you know.
Yeah, that would have been the race. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
So
luckily for
NASCAR,
them
like
with how it ran,
NASCAR is praying. They're like, please get going. Please, nobody have something broke. Nobody get back up into the racing surface. Just stay down there and get going. And they did. So,
so yeah, that was. I mean, you look at it and you got guys. The laps on these, like the 78, it was a 2 lap difference. So he got a speeding penalty, and then he got a speeding penalty when he came around again. The 4 got a speeding penalty, he got a speeding penalty when he came around again to try to fix it.
mhm.
But I mean, you're talking 90 miles an hour all the way around to 45 once you get to the start of pit road. And I mean, what more can you do? You're looking at timing lights. They don't have speedometer or what they're going off of RPMs and timing lights, right? Or
Mhm.
something like that. So, what are you gonna do?
I mean, I can't say that I wouldn't speed either. I was- you know, but
I'd get excited and just like floor it. probably.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's another thing. They had 1 lap of practice, not even at full speed, to get into the pits, so they didn't really have any real time data on how to actually get into the pits. It was just trusting that how the lights got set up by the crew guys that it was right, and
Yeah,
what 8 people got speeding penalties. So obviously there were
yeah,
Yeah.
some things that weren't right and a lot of confusion about it. It's a weird pit road, but
very, very.
What are you
made
gonna
it
do?
interesting.
What are you gonna do? So as I don't know if this is as surprising to y'all, but a surprising breakout was Todd Gilliland this past weekend.
Well, I mean, kind of like how we mentioned earlier, I don't really necessarily see it as I think him specifically, but front row last year, McDowell was consistently there. Like it
Right.
wasn't like when he won that race, it wasn't like, oh, he got lucky and won his way into the playoffs. Like he was in the playoff hunt on the bubble, and then won a race and locked himself in. The Todd Gilliland part is more surprising, but like we talked about earlier, I think that's just the fruits of their labor starting to pay off even before their Penske alliance kicks in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a big part of that. And I mean, the cars are looking fast. They looked fast last weekend. McDowell, obviously, Gilliland was up there. Um, so it's a matter of time as these cars continue to get better and these guys continue to get more and more experience behind the wheel and getting better behind the wheel. Um, question on that: do you see Todd Gilliland winning in a front row motorsports car?
Uh,
Mm,
ask me after Coda.
Ask you after
give him
Coda.
some time.
Okay, we can do that. We can
Let's
do
make a
that.
note. Hold on. I'll make a note. So let's see. From the live stream, what did we think about Bubba Wallace this past weekend?
Got in trouble early with everybody else, then got a speeding penalty, then got bailed out by all the cautions to get back on the lead lap. Because I know at one point him and Ross Chastain were racing for the lucky dog, and that's when Ross
Hmm.
Chastain dumped Elliott. Uh, but there was enough cautions to where he's able to get back on the lead lap and rally for a top 5 finish
I think he would have ended up pushing
two
that
weeks in a
three
row.
wide out. Yeah,
Mhm.
2 weeks
Oh
in a
yeah,
row
you
with that.
saw he got in there
He got into
and
three and
I
got
just
was gonna
loose.
say.
plowed back up the track and lost all his momentum and wasn't able to push Blaney.
Yeah, I actually have his in-car camera looking out for that for the finish. Um, if we want to jump to that, or if we want to hang tight for a minute, what y'all think?
And we can jump to that.
But I mean, for 2 weeks in a row now, he's finished top 5.
Yeah, he's in the Winston Cup Series standings. He's currently the leader. Even though that doesn't mean anything, he's currently the leader in the Winston Cup Series standings.
So, well, let's look at this real quick, and you'll be able to see what we're talking about, where he just got super loose up at the top.
Here he comes, Kyle Busch to the
His
middle,
car's on
shooting
the
a
top,
gap.
video on the bottom.
No help with Kyle Busch.
No, Suarez right alongside him, 3 wide. Look at this.
Loud
Here
right
they
up the
come to
track.
the flag. 3 abreast. Photo finish.
One of the greatest finishes in NASCAR history.
To be honest, being there, you didn't even know who won.
Yeah, here's
I mean,
So,
watching the TV
like-
broadcast, you didn't know.
like
no idea. No idea on who
it took
who had to win
me a
there.
second, and then I was like, we'll get more into that later.
Yeah, that's what Daniel Harper said. Josh Williams said he thought he left the ARCA years ago when he cleared the care center. This year, he didn't. Him parking it wasn't quite as what's the word I'm looking for? Flashy as him parking it at Atlanta last year. 'Cause that's what I think he had trouble in the Xfinity series too. Like right off the bat, I think he had a flat tire or something. So
Yeah,
he
I know
hasn't
there's
had
a
that
lot of
great
guys
of
that
a
are
start.
ready to leave super speedway racing for a little while, which I
Mhm.
mean, I can't disagree. I'm ready to see something else. But
Yeah,
I
I'm
tell
ready
you
to see
what,
how the season's really gonna go. You know,
This
Wanna
is
just
an amazing start, especially after the documentary and everything, hyping up NASCAR, leading up to NASCAR. You get the 500, which, yeah, there was some fuel mileage in there. It wasn't the best at times, but it was a good race. It's the 500. And then you come to Atlanta, that's a, what, how many lead changes did you say?
it was
48.
48.
48 lead change thriller. I mean, we're sitting there and you're just watching runs generate on the back all day. And each
Mhm.
line's moving, people are moving, slicing and dicing. I mean, obviously that's why you have as many wrecks as you do, because guys, you get a run on the outside, you push them out, and then drop down to the next line, go around the guy you were
Yeah.
pushing.
So the whole time I was watching the broadcast, I could just hear Dale Jr. going, slide job,
We heard that
every
through
time.
PNR or PRN on the speakers. You could hear
Mhm.
him saying it. So, especially once they got spread out in stage two. So there was a lot different racing style there. But
Mhm.
yeah, that was, oh man, what a finish. What a finish. Are we ready to talk about a finish?
We have one more thing to talk about before the finish.
All right.
One more
All
thing
right.
I need y'all's opinion.
All right. Well, hold on. Well, hold
So I'm sorry. It is year 3 since the reconfiguration of Atlanta.
on.
Do we feel like it's still working?
Oh,
Obviously.
100%. It's
I definitely think so.
better and
I
better.
just
That's what
want more
that's what we're
elaboration on that one.
5 races into the reconfiguration, and like we talked before, it's kind of like, I don't know about putting Atlanta second, and I don't know about putting Atlanta the first race of the playoffs, but
I'm a fan.
There you
I'm
go.
a fan.
Yep.
I mean,
I
all
should have
I'm
never
gonna
doubted
say
you,
is
NASCAR.
so the summer race compared, let's talk about the fourth race, last year's summer race compared to this race. And while the summer race was rain shortened, let's just talk about the action that was on track. Do you feel like this race beat the summer race by a long shot? Or do you think this is a close balance?
Yeah, they showed the viewership on this Atlanta race was up 33% from the spring Atlanta race last year.
Well, that was the
I think
spring.
it
I'm
had
talking summer.
well, yeah, but it had 4.3 million people watched it. But yeah, that was way more. Obviously, there was more cautions, which the cautions don't really mean anything to me. I don't need to see a bunch of cars wrecking, but if they keep the way they're racing, just being able to 48 lead changes, no one had full control. I mean, yeah, Todd Gilliland led 58 laps, but I mean, at no point was it like, oh, he's a clear favorite. There's no way anybody gets around him because people kept getting
Hmm.
around him and he kept having to get back around other people. It was just constant change. There was at no point during the race that I know that I have an idea of like, oh, it's his race to lose. I didn't know. I mean, hell, when the race was over, it's like I don't even know who won until they start showing replays of the just a little,
The little tiny bit.
and it looks
Yeah.
like Blaney had it, and then all of a sudden here comes Suarez's car, and I'm whoa, he got it.
Well, I'll agree with what Hamlin said on his podcast about it, is that off of turn 4, the high line has a slight downhill on it. Very, very slight, but
He was able
again,
to get that
every little
momentum.
bit does it and it can gain momentum. So, and that's what
Well, Bush
they're
said
thinking.
something similar.
Hmm.
Bush said something similar. He said that person that goes 3 wide is usually the one that gets the best run.
Yep. Which, I think the way the track's aging, handling is becoming more and more and more and more important, which I think between the track being narrow and the air being packed in to make the
Hmm.
runs bigger, on top of people having to lift because their car, you saw Chris Buescher spin by himself because he peeked his nose out around
Right.
Logano and then all of a sudden he spun out.
Right.
So, I mean, the way the track's aging and how handling's coming into play, the more they race there, I think the better the racing might get. Eventually, I've heard on several podcasts, they're like, I don't think they'll let it go back. They'll make changes to whatever they got to make to keep the racing kind of same and like the super speedway aspect.
Hmm.
But I mean, the more they race, the more mile and a half it gets with that super speedway aspect, and which put on obviously an incredible race.
It's a
Yeah.
very interesting dynamic. Like,
Yeah. It's, go ahead.
oh no, you're good.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's very, like you said, a very interesting dynamic, a very interesting. I mean, it's something that they thought would work, and it works really well with this car because this car is so versatile. Um, but it's crazy like that it does, and the amount of action packed into it just makes it worth all the while. So, but also look at it this way: somebody that's notoriously had bad times at super speedway, which is Kyle Larson, said that this was the most fun that he's ever had on a super speedway.
Yeah, that's what all the drivers were saying, that they had fun. You know, that was one of the most fun races they've ever been a part of, and that was, honestly, that's one of the most fun races I've ever watched.
Yeah. Oh,
It
100%.
was such a
It
good
was a
race.
blast.
Like I can't.
So, I mean, you can't get over that finish. But speaking of that finish,
I was
Emily, can
gonna
we
say we're
finally,
finally to the finish.
finally,
Do we
finally?
want to go over the results first, or do you want to show the video?
All right, we'll talk about results because the results just will tell us who's where. So you got the top 10 pulled up?
I'm gonna say I have the top 10 pulled up. I'll go 10 to 1.
All right.
So Ty Gibbs, Busher, McDowell came in 8th. So he started good and ended good.
Good points today.
Even after
Chastain,
facing adversity.
Yeah, he won a stage
true.
too, so that's really good for him.
Mhm.
Playoff point.
He did. Chastain, Stenhouse, and then rounding out the top 5, Wallace, Cindric, Bush, Blaney, and Suarez.
What was what first to third was 700,000 seconds?
0. I
Yeah,
think it was 0.07 or
0.007.
007.
So 10,000,000. So yeah, so 7/1000ths of a second.
Yes.
Between all three.
Between first and third.
Yeah, it
And
was
then I think
0 3
Blaney
thousandths
was
of a second.
0.003. Yeah, I think Blaney was 0.003 and Bush was 0.007.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, let's look at a picture of that finish. Let's just look at the picture. So
Wait,
here,
before we get that picture,
oh, we're coming back.
real quick. Sorry, we do have one more thing about reconfiguration.
Okay.
Rumor mill has it about Texas being reconfigured in the next few years.
Yeah, I don't know. The last race that Texas had wasn't terrible.
It's a lot
You
better
know what
than
I
it's
mean?
been.
I think that one's one of those that they might just need to leave alone, because also the more that track ages, the better that racing's kind of getting.
Hmm.
But with the way Atlanta raced, I know that's tempting to reconfigure Texas like Atlanta. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I just kind of like Atlanta being Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Let it be its unique thing, and let Texas be whatever Texas is. You know,
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you think
I don't
about it,
really want to
Texas and
change
Atlanta
Texas
were
into
sister
Atlanta.
tracks. So, but
So it would make sense.
in that aspect, yes. And I know SMI does own Texas as well as Atlanta, and most of the other tracks on the circuit. But I don't think that it's a good move on that end because you're looking at 9 or 7 super speedway races at that point, and that would probably give Texas a second date again. And
Maybe looking
so
at
that
10.
yeah, it it's too many. And I think, like you said, as Texas ages and that asphalt out there ages, and a couple more years under its belt, the racing is continually improving out there. We saw it last year. I think there's a potential for Texas to be a good mile and a half. I don't think it's got like Kansas potential, but I think it's got some potential to be like better than Phoenix would be, which I know Phoenix is a mile, but Phoenix kind of races more like a mile and a half. So I I understand the reason behind it because also that would get a lot of fans and seats out there, but I don't think I don't think they should, just in my opinion, but they don't pay me to make those choices.
We should.
Yeah,
They
I
should.
agree
I
with
agree.
Daniel. You can't make another Atlanta. Don't make another Atlanta. Let Atlanta be its own unique little self.
Mhm.
Yeah,
All right,
no.
now you can go into the finish.
Well, let's look at this picture. So here's you a front on picture. I do not think that I have the side view here, But as you
I was
see
about to say,
there,
you need the one that Kyle Busch posted with the Lightning McQueen tongue stuck out.
oh yeah, with the tongue out, that is definitely the one definitely the one that we need. So have the tongue out, Lightning McQueen. He'd have won it he'd have won it at that point. So as Samantha said, you just need a few more inches. Kyle, come on, step your
Been telling
game
him
up.
that for years.
So well, let's dissect this finish, guys. How does that sound? Let's look
Here
into
it comes, Kyle Busch to the middle, shooting the gap.
And this
No help with Kyle Busch. No, Suarez right alongside him, 3 wide. Look at this. Here they come to the flag. 3 abreast. Photo finish.
Yeah, I thought from that view, from like watching it live on TV, the way that was, I could have swore Suarez was third. I thought it was either Blaney or Busch, and then they showed the side by side after that. I was like, I can't believe Suarez got it.
So yeah. Well, I mean, you see here. So first off, Kyle gets to run. Kyle gets to run the push from Bubba there, and you see him move up to the middle right there to take that lane. And I think what may have caused Bubba to get tight, I think he got aero tight, off the wake of both those cars.
And I think he had splitter damage from the lap 2 wreck as well.
Yeah. So you see they go 3 wide. But then once you get up here,
I can't believe Blaney wasn't looking in his mirror to like block that run. Like, you know what I mean? Because him and Suarez could have got a little bit closer to each other and completely eliminated Kyle Busch from the situation. And at that point, Blaney wins the race.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Blaney may have seen it too late, but I also don't think anybody thought that Busch may have taken it 3 wide.
Yeah.
So.
No, I don't think anyone expected that.
I mean, I wasn't. I was like, oh, there he goes.
So we got it 3 wide here. So then if Bubba can stay to Blaney's bumper, it's Blaney's race to lose.
Bubba got loose.
As you see right here, Bubba starts tracking up arrow loose. I'll play it for a second right here. From right here.
Suarez right alongside him.
And you see him just wash up the track there. And washing up the track, then Cindric's having to check up a little bit because he's bumping into Cindric. So that just makes it a 3-horse race. And
3 wide. Look at this. Here they come to the flag. 3 abreast. Photo finish.
Busch Blaney, and then Suarez right at the last.
Here.
You just got. I mean, Busch is edged right there.
Busch.
Right there's Blaney.
And then there goes Blaney. That almost looks dead even to me. Right.
No, you can see Blaney. You can see Blaney's attire.
Blaney's edge.
Yeah, he has a tire. You are right. I have to like lean and squint.
Still Blaney, and then boom, Suarez out of nowhere.
Boom. And that's the race. I mean, what a thriller. What a thriller. So you don't even know, they don't even know who's winning. They don't even know who's got it. And I mean, just phenomenal.
Did y'all hear Suarez's radio? He literally was like, "Did we get it?" And his spotters were like, we got it."
Yeah. Just as they're waiting on NASCAR's ruling on it. Because the other thing
is no one knew at that point.
People got a little upset about the picture for Sunday night, thinking that NASCAR gave Suarez the race over Blaney. And the thing is NASCAR doesn't go off of the picture at the end of the day. They go off the scoring loop and the timing loop. So, and that's where we have our times and have our facts of the .003 second margin.
Even in the picture they showed on the broadcast, it was pretty clear it was Suarez in the picture on the broadcast that they showed.
Yeah. So
that little last minute.
Man, you can't beat watching them go 3 wide. I mean, again, even from our point of view, just seeing them go. You're like, do what? Do what?
I literally sat there and I was like, who just won? Like, I could not tell you.
I didn't know what to think until they showed the picture, and I was like,
Now I know what to think.
Mhm.
So, yeah, amazing day of racing. Great job, NASCAR. Great job, Atlanta Motor Speedway, SMI. Put on the show.
Mhm. So,
So,
with Suarez winning, and I know it's a little too early to be talking about this, but do you think that may shake up playoffs?
well, yeah, somebody
hmm
from last year out, but the question is who. So it just
yeah,
depends. I mean, I doubt we get more than 16 winners, just because the more the next gen goes, the more
Right.
teams are going to figure it out, and the bigger teams are going to figure it out better, and it's going to be harder to count those guys out. So because you got to consider somebody else is going to be out because there's a good chance Elliott makes it on points versus other people. So
Elliott's supposed to win a
you got
race
to think,
anyways.
yeah. So
And
you got to
Bowman
think it's
probably too.
yes. That's what 3 spots that are going to change. So I mean, you probably got to look at the Harvick is gone, so that's one, and you got to kind of look at McDowell and Bubba. But I mean, with the way Bubba's been going the past 2 years, it's hard to count him out not winning a race.
Exactly.
I don't know who gets out. I don't know who gets left out.
Yeah, it's gonna be tight running.
Probably
Someone does now.
maybe Keselowski. If he can't get that win, I doubt he's gonna. I mean, it's only week 2, but he's in a pretty big hole already.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
you have people who are in the top 16 right now who are just in there because they didn't wreck out
yeah,
and
they
were able
didn't
to finish races.
they were able to
They didn't
avoid
get
them.
penalized to negative points.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna take a miracle. That's gonna take a win for those guys to get in for sure. I mean, when you're going into week 3 and you're -7 points and 0, it's like you didn't even show up the first 2 weeks.
Yeah. So, well, I have a quick question that I just saw on one of the pages we posted to that is who is your early contender for rookie of the year while we're talking about points and everything and standings?
The way it's looking right now is Zane Smith because Carson Hocefar's got wrecked the first 2 weeks, and Josh Berry has as well. So right now it's looking like Zane Smith, but once again it's week 2. But just
I mean,
after
it's
the
a
first
toss
2
up.
weeks, Zane Smith is.
Ask me after Coda. So, no, but yeah, I mean, I don't know because it's hard to, there's not enough on the table from any of them right now, other than a little bit from Josh Berry, just mainly because he's avoided the first wreck of the day. So, but that's I I can't answer that until probably next week after Vegas. Thinking about it a little more in depth, it's like
Mhm.
there's not what can you say? I mean, all 3 cars have gotten damaged or wrecked out in both races, and we haven't really got to see any type of potential per se, um, either week. So, but yeah, good question though. Very good question. Y'all keep them coming. Y'all keep them coming.
So moving on from NASCAR standings to our standings. I'm very sorry, Daniel. I was really rooting for you this past week because I thought it would
So
even
promising.
everything out. And I will be honest, I was like, he's about to beat us. Very early on in the race, I was out. I was done. But Allen got his second win of the season and his second win in a row for our
Let's
picks.
go. So,
Yeah, I'm not doing so hot. We all did really good at the Clash, and then at Daytona and Atlanta, my picks finished 39th and 31st,
yeah, let's just talk about those numbers
respectively.
real
Mhm.
quick. At the Clash, we were second, third, and fifth. And then Daytona 18th, 28th, and 39th. And then Atlanta 13th, 31st, and 35th. We're not doing that hot this year.
We are not.
It's time to step it up this week. It's time to step it up this week at Las Vegas. So I'll dive into mine if you guys are ready, and I got a little bit of statistics to back it up. But I'm gonna go
All right,
Alex
go ahead.
Bowman. Alex Bowman, the 48 Ally Chevrolet. Um,
You took
and
my pick. I did not think you were going to pick Alex Bowman.
oh, I did my research, buddy. So
Dang, hang on. Now I got to find somebody else.
so a
Hold
17.6
on.
average finish in the last 5 races there. 1 win, 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s. So I feel like he's a pretty formidable choice here. And stole that right out of Daniel's pocket without even knowing. So I'll take it. But that's for me. So Daniel, you are up, buddy. Here's the thing, guys. You win the week before, you get to pick first. Doesn't matter who you steal. I didn't even know it.
I'll go Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch.
Because it's his hometown.
Or yeah, Kyle Busch has always been pretty good at Las Vegas.
He has. I don't know how many.
I didn't steal your pick, did I, Emily?
No, you did not. But I what's actually kind of funny is I feel like we picked each other's usual. My pick this week is Kyle Larson.
Yeah, the Hendrick cars finished, I think, 1,
Mhm.
2, 3 here in the spring last year.
Yeah,
Hey, his
no.
average
Kyle
finish
Larson,
there is
Kyle
8.10.
Larson won it in the fall. Lock himself in the Final Four.
Mm-hmm. So I think this is a week of redemption for us in our finishing.
I'm actually
So
kind of hoping Daniel does win this week. 1, because it's Bush. 2, because Daniel deserves a win. I
don't
was
give him
literally
that
like,
credit. Don't give him that credit. He put me
now that
down
I'm
like
out with
10-0
Zane
last year.
Smith,
Yeah.
No,
that is true.
it's not
Once Zane
deserved.
Smith
Yeah.
was out, I was like,
The average finish of my picks right now
terrible.
is 25th. And that's only because I have the outlier of
Of the Clash.
yeah, the outlier of the Clash. But other than
Mine's
it's been a rough one. 35th is my
21.6.
average,
Don't
not including
worry.
the Clash.
I had a top
So
2 finish at the Clash. That's the only reason I'm that high.
I'm finishing top
And don't
20s at
forget,
least.
if your pick wins the race, you get 2 points. So that could be my way to
Yes.
get back in the game.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a quick turnaround too. So
Well, have we went over the pick rules for our
I feel like we should have done that like in the first 2 episodes, but here we are, episode 5. Let's talk
Here
about
we are.
them.
All right. First rule. If your pick finish high I am so sorry. If your pick finishes highest, you will receive 1 point. But like he said, if they win, you get an extra point. So if they win, you get 2 points. The regular season champion out of the 3 of us gets 5 bonus points starting the playoffs. Oh, and our picks reset at playoffs. I'm counting on that.
and what's
Um,
important is the other 2 people start with goose eggs.
Mhm.
The winner of the regular season and the subsequent winner of the championship will get a die cast of their choosing. In the event of a tie in the regular season, the best average finish of picks wins, and then the same thing for the championship. I mean, are there any other rules that y'all can think of that we've come up with? You can only pick
No, that's the
a
rule
racer
system. We're not
once.
changing it.
You can only pick a driver once.
Yeah.
That was what I
Yeah.
wanted to pick.
The only places that you can use a driver multiple times is on an exhibition race, which would be the Clash
The
or the
Clash
All-Star
and the
race.
All-Star race.
Those are the only times, but we also don't like count the heat races or anything like that, just the main event. So, but that is our pick rules. Also, guys, remember that we have the fantasy league as well, still going. You can still join, jump in. I'll put it this way: we had somebody join after Daytona, and he's in third. So that tells you how much it can fluctuate throughout a week, especially if you don't have signal at the racetrack and can change your garage pick in. Sucks.
Yeah, excuses,
These
excuses.
I
guys.
was gonna say I let Alan pick for me last week. Not a good idea.
I can't help a 16-car pile up. So running like it's 285 out here. Come on, guys. But no, in seriousness, join our podcast through the NASCAR app at the Fantasy League in the tab and make sure to join us. Winner, again, we talked about it. We'll have free merch for you coming as well as a prize of you guys' choosing at the end of the regular season. So make sure to join, make sure to be a part of that. And yeah, so from there, where are we heading to, Emily, on this grand adventure of an Atlanta?
What are y'all? Well, I was gonna wrap up Atlanta. I was gonna see what y'all were looking forward to in Las Vegas, and I think y'all have talked about this just a little bit intermittently throughout the entire episode. But what is y'all's like? I guess other than it not being a super speedway.
Well, I think you'll get a better understanding of who's where after this race. 'Cause that's the majority of the schedule is mile and a halves.
Mile and
And
a half.
I'm also predict.
I was
I'm
gonna
also
say I heard
predicting.
y'all harp on that, so I figured that was gonna be what y'all are most excited for. It's something
I'm
different.
also predicting a Kyle Busch win.
Oh, it's inevitable. So if it's not here, it'll be Bristol. That's my take. If it's not at Las Vegas, it'll be Bristol.
Yeah, you just better hope Emily doesn't win Phoenix to where she can steal your pick for Bristol.
Yeah, exactly. I got to be careful here. But yeah, no, like
I was
I
about to
said,
say I
mile and a
will
half.
steal that right out from under you.
Like I just took Bowman. I'm really ready for some more deeper strategy racing. I'm ready to see some cars getting looser, a little bit more braking versus on the throttle or fuel mileage. Well, I want to see a mile and a half fuel mileage race, not a super speedway fuel mileage race.
Well, that's typically
So,
what Las Vegas turns down to, a gamble race on who's going to make it on fuel and who
hmm
pits and can drive back
yeah.
up to their, Las Vegas
Did
is
you pit long
notorious for
enough and did you
gambling.
make it? So that's the fuel mileage race that I want to watch, not the Daytona 500 fuel mileage that we got. So
Everybody's
I'm
putting around
very
at
excited
30% throttle.
for some more deeper strategy racing than what we've seen. So it's going to be fun. Looking forward to Las Vegas. What's the times on that race? 3:30. 3:30 Eastern on Fox, on Big Fox, 400 miles. Was it the Pennzoil 400?
Joe Logano's paint scheme, he always has a sick paint scheme at this racetrack.
Did you see William Byron's new sponsor, HPZ? So it's just a Z on the door and the hood. It's quite a sponsor. So well, let's see here, guys. Have we reached the end of our time together?
I think we have reached the end of our time together.
Well, all right. Well, just make sure to tune in next week. If you're listening to this after the live stream, guys, we have moved it from YouTube to Facebook. So keep your eyes out on Facebook, our Facebook page. We will be creating the event every week, so you can let us know if you're coming. Make sure to ask questions on our social medias and stay in touch. You can follow us everywhere on Gas is on the Right podcast. Search us up. You'll see us and find us. The logo's on the screen right now. So without further ado, let's head to Vegas, guys.